What up, everybody? It's Andy from Tap FinTech and CyberFrogs. Today I'm going to be looking at the markets using Thor. If you haven't joined my channel before, you know a couple of things. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is simply me using our tool known as Thor to navigate the markets. I have learned how to use this tool over a couple of years, and these classes are really designed not to just like spoon feed people trades, but to progressively learn how to use the tool, which you can apply to any asset. We provide trading signals on cryptos, stocks, Forex, and any SPL token on the Solana network. All of your popular meme coins, all of those have an average of a 70% cumulative win rate for our trading signals. All things considered, we try and take a sensible approach to trading, and we don't really trade based on the news, but we really try and focus on trading on math and really specifically Thor trading signals. So that being said, I haven't looked at the markets today, not too much. I haven't really looked at my positions or anything like that, but we covered Solana yesterday. And so we're going to talk about Solana today again. And then we'll move on to, I don't know, we'll have like a random asset that I cover at the end. So all things considered, y'all know where I usually start. If you're familiar with Thor, we're sitting here looking at our time frames on Solana USDC. If you're following along in Discord, we are doing live Discord trading sessions now. These are all going to be recorded and available live to the CyberFrogs community. So if you want to be following along for like active management, you'll get this information like ASAP. Although the recordings will be available 24 hours later. So if I say anything about pricing, just make sure that you're confirming the time that these videos were released and also the price points that I'm talking about. I'm recording this Wednesday around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just for a fun timestamp. So, all right, all that fun, boring stuff out of the way. We're looking at Thor. If you're used to seeing Thor, this shouldn't be a surprise. We have all of these available assets right now via our tiered system, and we cover Solana in these videos. Why? Because you should go and buy a frog pussy and use the signals that you can get otherwise. So, we don't have anything on the one day. You know, where we started was, we talked about it yesterday. We had that long at 152 down to like 142, and we just ripped right down past that. That's when all the tariffs came out and everything like that. And news can temporarily impact the markets, but still, we were at really like a macro level of support that we fell through. Since then, we've picked up another couple of entries at like 137 and 122, and we've exited both of those minor positions and still holding my macro position at that one-day signal. I haven't looked at these 4-hour signals yet, I think today, but let's see if there's anything new from what we've covered. It's still the same sort of 50-50 that we're at. We're dancing around this first entry, and when I said it yesterday, this is still sort of at the bottom range of that one-day signal that we took, so I'm not personally going to be taking this as like a short or really for my take profits. I'm not really going to trim much right here, if any, at 135 to 133. And we're $1 below it right now. We're currently sitting at $132 Solana. The reason I'm not going to take this, we talked about, it's just a 3.92 to 5% return, which is not bad. You know, 5% return on a trade's great. I'm a boomer. I'm really just okay holding for a longer period of time. And so I'm waiting for the 148 still and higher. We're going to be getting close, and we are close to the invalidation zones that we're seeing here on these long sides. Just if you don't know, if you look at an invalidation level for our signal on a long, that usually can be considered like resistance. And so we're still looking to go above 136.72. This signal is right before it. We're probably going to have that market reaction that I was talking about, and feasibly up to a 5% pullback. So for me personally, I'm not taking it. If you are a day trader, if you're just trying to take a perpetual trade, that's still likely a good signal. We looked at the data yesterday on the hit rates on Solana specifically, and approximately about a 2 out of 3 of the signals that we give are winning trades. So you can take this as a clean signal, short at 134, take your profit down here at 129 to 126. I'm not. I think that personally, I'm looking to exit my position higher. And I'm going to be exited about 70% of my position around 160. That's where I was at. Let's zoom in on the 1 hour and let's just see what's up today. No surprises here. We're within like a really short percentage of entering this short right now. If you're looking at the screen, which you will be on the recording, it's right here pretty much at the top of this fair value gap right here, really tiny. You know, we're just now getting close to it. And so, yeah, once again, like if it's just a straight trade, that's probably a good short. I would use my risk management tool if I were just going to take this as a clean signal. And we can walk through that right now. To use the risk management tool, super simple. Simply click RM. Oh, okay. Sorry. Simply click the risk management. Sorry, there's a bunch of loud noises outside. And let's see where we're at. So risk management. It's waiting, obviously. So right up here, I lost my train of thought. It's bad. ADD. Terrible. When using the risk management tool, it's pretty simple to start. You put forward the amount of money you're willing to risk on this trade. If it's $100, if it's $1,000, you can say this is where my max drawdown is by a dollar amount, and that's where I'm going to put in. We just go ahead and say, so $500, for instance, I'm going to put on this. Calculate, boom. You get your risk to reward. 1 to 1, which is I'm willing to risk $1 to make an extra dollar. 1 to 1.5, I'm willing to risk $1 to make $1.50. I'm willing to risk $1 to make $2 down here, R&R 1 to 1.2. For us, and for me, I'm a big TP1 maxi all day, and I usually will not take a trade unless I can comfortably sit at like a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward. For those watching, our calculations are a 1 to 1.4 risk to reward to classify a winning hit on Thor. So, all things considered, you can go in, adjust your own risk based on what your own trading preferences are, and just use our risk management calculator to help you know when you're setting your sells or your buys, and even where a recommended stop loss is. So it's pretty fun. And you can just, you know, it takes a little bit of time to get comfortable with it, like all of our tools, but it does help just plan your trade. And that's our whole thing, is just plan your trade and trade your plan. So Solana, it's sort of boring today. I don't want to say that like, the markets have been just absolutely up and down, crazy all over the place. A lot of news, a lot of emotions, a lot of candles that don't make sense. I mean, we're just looking at this right here, and what we're really aware of is that crypto is always designed to rinse people. It's not, markets are designed to take your money, not just give you extra money. And so over leveraged traders right now are really feeling it. And some are winning and some are losing. And that's, sort of the nature of the beast here. For us, I don't want to take any of these big trades just because there's nothing until I get into the 152 range or the 148 range for a trading delta that I'm happy about. So Solana, it's the same plan as yesterday. So cool, dude. Shut the fuck up and let's trade something. You gotta bleep that, Felicity. Whoops. I'm gonna go and use a tool known as Thor Pro right now to help me find a trade that I want to take, like maybe today or tomorrow. It's this little button that you click right here. It takes you to a new interface. And this is really just for our Cyberfrogs community right now, that we will be rolling out a subscription access to Thor Pro in the future. Thor Pro is a very different interface, and it's designed to get you to the most profitable trade, or the trade that meets your criteria the most effectively. You can do a few things. You can isolate longs or shorts, and you can also isolate what time frames that you're willing to trade on. I just said that I want to make a trade today or tomorrow. The first thing I do is I hit the trading delta that I need to hit. I'm going to take the minimum 10% trading delta. So I'm expecting that this trade has at least a 10% range from the entry to the first take profit. I am a spot trader. I don't mind holding. I don't mind being patient. That's just me. Maybe that's not you. That's okay. But so I want to go ahead and I want to hit a minimum 10% trading delta. I probably don't want to wait a ton of time, so I'm going to exclude one-day signals right here. Again, on the 4 hour, I don't want to wait a ton of time. I'm looking for like a hit right now. And, We've got some that are on the table. Injective. And this is where Thor Pro's great. I just went through and I said, hey, I want to make at least a 10% trade. I want to make that on a 1 hour or a 15-minute signal because I want to be day trading actively or something. And I just can set it. You can go in and isolate what assets you're willing to trade because there's some that I just won't trade personally. Like Whiff, I could give a shit less. Like Rune, God, that went to 0. So on and so forth. Whatever you're into, you can isolate. I see a couple of things right here that make me want to go and check out Injective. I got a long right here that meets my criteria, and I got a short right here that meets my criteria. All things considered, out of the 10 or so signals that we just generated, Injective is the most attractive one for me to go and look at. Now, I'm going to do something just to start, and I'm going to say, all right, cool. I see that there's signals that I like. Let's see how good we are at trading them. I had to go to taptrade.io/Thor. And I'm going to navigate down, and I'm going to see how good we've been at trading Injective. So, and this is really great information to cover. Look, it's not all rainbows and sunshine and all that fun stuff. Trading's hard, and though our algorithm has a cumulative 70% win rate, some of those assets don't perform to the same degree. And Injective looks to be one of those. At least within the last 30 days, we only have a 54.9% win rate. You're still on the right side of probability. In terms of an algorithm, that's still great. You still win more than you lose. For me, as a boomer trader, not really looking to take a ton of risk, I might second guess myself. So for 30 days, on our 1 hour signals, we have a 41% win rate. That's good information to have. Now, going to our cumulative total since mid-August 2024, our cumulative win rate is 60%. That's a bit more comforting for me. I can say, all right, we're still about 2 out of 3 on this. I should be aware that over the last 30 days, it's maybe been a bit more of a volatile asset that hasn't been performing well algorithmically for us. But overall, I can still think 2 times out of 3, I'm going to have a winning trade. I'm going to take that information, still decide to take this trade if we get to one of them when we look at it. But I'm going to know now, 2 times out of 3, I probably need to practice some risk management. So we're just going to go from there. So I'll go back and I'm going to switch back to just the regular Thor interfacing and go to Injective. We were looking at 1 hour time frames, but it doesn't stop me from going from the most zoomed out version and isolating and going all the way back down. I want to take that 1 hour trade, but I want to understand what Thor is thinking about Injective all over the board. Okay, cool. We've got a long that's active right now on the 1 day. Not so bad. We've got a short that's pending at $12. It is below the take profit zones that we're showing on the 1 day. Now, all right, cool. So I got one piece of information. We are in a big macro 1 day long on Injective right now. And the first take profit is 56%. Hell yeah, right on. So I think to myself, 16 is the first big target for this macro move. But this daily short around $12 says that we got some temporary resistance on our hands. And a really decent pullback too. When markets get suppressed like this, the last thing I want to do is go and throw my fucking, sell my whole bag at the first short I get because, equally you don't want to sell too soon. I don't really have a ton of Injective. I do off camera in a long-term bag that my entry was a lot higher on, but I was actively trading it on the 1 day. It's fine. And that's just a long-term hold now. That's my set it and forget it stuff. I don't have any that I'm actively trading. Excuse me. So zooming in 4 hour. Again, it's a tale of two cities right here. You got a 50-50. And that's not a very fun place to be as a trader looking for clarity. And so what I can say is that regardless of what you do at this point, you need to understand that we're still largely, in the market overall, is at a 50-50 point of correction or, I think, a rebound. It's the same that people are saying within the U.S. stock market right now. Things trying to stay out of correction territory. Some things considering going into a bear market. And so you can't get mad at an algorithm for just understanding that a 50-50 is on the table mathematically. And even just conversationally talking, you can tell that that's on the table as well. So with injective, I still have two data points I got. One, we're in a big macro 1 day long right now. We've fallen through that once. And now Thor is telling me if we get back to $8 down to $7 basically, that's once again another great entry on injective. You could go through, if you wanted to get primo prime badass entry on injective, and take a stab at waiting for these to hit. But you are dancing right next to the invalidation on a lot of these. $10.33, which you can tell we're basically right at right now, and holding, which will be resistance. It's not uncommon for us to see short signals right above what resistance is. You got $10.97, basically $10.75 to $11 injective. Now, for us, that wasn't the trade I wanted to take, but I've now painted myself a pretty clear depiction that either way I go, there's still risk on the table. If I can get past the $10 resistance on injective, I know where some of my take profit levels are. Maybe I hit that dip, I bought that 1 day signal, it dipped below to $8, and I bought more at $8 because we did have signals there. And I want to just exit some of that extra injective I picked up. I can do so at these levels. Hey, I need to pay X, Y, and Z, and I want to trim some of my bag right here. You have your DCA out zones. These signals are stacked on top of each other. This is just one range right here, the 1072 to 1093. So you can just combine those two signals. Even though they have different invalidation rates, I wouldn't worry about it, and I would just combine them. And then you got $12. That $12 is also the same as the 1 day signal. So once again, why did I go through all of this? Because I've now built out a way better depiction of the bigger targets. 1 day signal, we're in a macro long. The first place that we're taking profit on that trade is at $16. However, we can expect that there's some resistance to get to that at $10.93 and $12. Do I want to take those signals clean and flat? Referencing back to the data, 1 hour signals, 60%, 4 hour signals, 58%, and cumulative 1 day signals on injective, 80%. Adding that to my plan, that 1 day $10 buy-in has an 80% chance of hitting at least take profit one, which is $16. Okay, cool. That guides my decision just a little bit, right? Fucking 8 times out of 10, I'll make money on it. Now, where do we see $16 anywhere on here? We don't. Where do we see the, macro downtrend getting pretty much invalidated? It's at where we are currently, and for those of you listening in, we got the good old friend Calvin and Discord listening in live. I think we're really close to invalidating these longs on injective, but we're going to see. We're going to wait and see. And news will likely tell us which direction we're going at this point, but mathematically, you understand 80% win rate on the 1 day at entry right now with some macro DCA zones at 8 to 7. I would not take my profit right here personally. I would be targeting $12 as the first take profit if you do enter that 1 day long, which you can do right now. If you're watching this and injective is in $10 to $9 territory, you are in a 1 day signal of ours that has an 80% chance of having a winning return on the investment. Not financial advice, just math, just data. That's it. So if and when we surpass that and we start getting out of that entry zone, I think the first major resistance is going to be $12. If you're buying at $10 and you're selling at $12, that's a 20% return on the table already. That's a good place to trim some of your injective if you do take that 1 day call. But again, that's not what I started out doing. I looked for one trade that I wanted to take, but I've now logically worked all the way down through the big macro moves, now getting into the 1 hour time frame, which is where we originally started, and looking to day trade. And wow, wouldn't you know, basically the same signals that we had on the 4-hour. What does it mean when this happens? It's very slightly different ranges. There's a little bit before, and then obviously there's this $11 signal right here that wasn't on the 4-hour. But I still see the same sort of story being told on now the 1-hour time frame, which is much more of like an active day trading, signal. $10 and $10.22, which is right where we are right now. I'd probably ignore that. There's that almost $11, and then there's that $12. These, here's where I have landed now, personally. I have a big one-day short at $12 that has an 80% win rate. I have a 1-hour signal telling me right now that, if we break through resistance around 1041, I think the best place to take a short for me would be, you could add, if I were, how do I say this? For me personally, if I'm doing this with my own strategy, I probably would ignore this first $10.22 range. Obviously, there's a 2% trading delta on that. I don't care. The same with this signal right here. I don't care. We get into this $11 territory with an 8% to a 12% trading delta. I care a little bit more. And then we get into the $12 range with a 12% trading delta. I care a lot more. I'm going to start building up a short around here at $10.75 up to $12.75. I'll give myself a pretty large breadth of room to go. I'll add a very small percentage right here of whatever it is that I have spot, probably 3 to 5%. I will scale that up to a maximum of 15%, assuming that we will likely get to that one-day short resistance zone and then have the market reaction. I'm not going to put all of my eggs into the lower time frame one-day signals when there is a really big macro move at $12 looming pretty close. And what do I mean by that? These can get invalidated fairly quickly and have a 30 or 40% chance of being invalidated because there's that bigger move pending on the one-day signal. And then that's really when you see markets react. If there's really positive news that comes out of the federal meeting right now, we could pump past these $10 and $11 shorts. And if you put all your eggs in that basket, well, you're wrecked. And so understanding that the big macro resistance on the one day is this signal right here, $12, which also coincides with the directional move towards take profit one on the other side. To me, that's where I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to take and start opening a short at $12.11 all the way up to the 1-hour signal, which shows a bit higher, $12.71. That's probably a good place for you to take profit on Injective or open a short. I don't really short unless I'm hedging personally, and that's a really good place to open, whatever your exit strategy is or whatever your macro thesis is. I would probably open up like a 10 to 20% and like a really crazy bullish or like a really crazy confident trade around that $12 range. I would work up to a 20% hedge on it. Now, what happens if we don't get the resistance we're looking for and we don't dip 10%? Well, since you're hedging, you still have a lot of meat on the bones, and you'll set a very reasonable stop loss for this right here. Probably within like the 8% drawdown or something, I'd say. Go like a 1 to 1.2 risk to reward on something like this. That would be a sensible trade for me. So, that is how I logically work through it. And if some of this is mumbo jumbo to you and you're not familiar with what it is I'm talking about, we will be doing daily trading classes. If you have a Cyber Frog, you can be joining me live in Discord every day. There will be short classes. We also have a great instructor named Mode who does Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he will really dive into the markets. We have a trading community in our Discord as well, where you can start talking to people about your strategy, what your trading thesis is, and a little bit of friendly advice and assistance as we all navigate the markets together. And the big pitch here for me is that you no longer have to guess at what you're doing. We have a tool known as Thor that you can access via a Cyberfrog or via our Ask Thor system, which is a pay-per request system. If you want to learn more about any of this, you can go to taptrade.io and find more information on our vaulting systems, which are automated trading vaults, our trading signals, which you can apply to crypto, Forex, stocks, and any meme coin on the Solana blockchain. And the most important thing is we have a community of people that are ready and want to help you. So that's it. For me, Solana, pretty much still the same song and dance. You know where I'm exiting on that. If you're looking for an active trade, we just worked through Thor using Thor Pro to find Injective, which has a good short building up within the $11 to $12.22 range. And still, I think one of the best signals that you got today was $10.79 long on Injective, which is happening right now. So that's it for me. Appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.